Hey, what is up, nation? In this session, we're going to be answering a question from Tavian, who asks, how do I do a line showing render? I've been trying out Sketchup for a few months now, and people have done some renders that has only black lines on white background. Can you guys please help me? We're going to be jumping into that after the intro. Alright, so I found this really cool retro racer model on the 3D warehouse. It seems like this is often a sci-fi kind of thing, or a schematic type thing that people are looking for. There's two different ways that we're going to approach this. The first is straight from SketchUp. How do you get your sort of schematic drawing directly out of SketchUp? And the key with that is really a lot of times you just want it to be monochrome, and all of this is really basically in the styles. So you want to go to Window, Default Tray, and then this will say Show Tray if you don't have that selected. And we're going to be working with the Styles bar, so we want to make sure that's checked as well. Now over here, you can see we have a bunch of these little things. In style, though, this main part, we have the faces selected. We have this textures. I think it's called, what's it called? Let's mouse over and wait a second. Display shaded using textures. So that's one way to show things. This next one, I think it's this one, display shading using all same. So it's basically like a monochromatic version. Now what happens when you do this is that you can see that this model has some faces that aren't, it looks like there's two colors almost. There's like a gray and a white. Now what happens in SketchUp is that because everything is face-based, sometimes the wrong face is showing outward. And this is something we need to correct to make sure that our model is looking nice. So I'm just going to go all the way into this and then right-click and do reverse faces. See, we get that white face. Reverse faces. Now this one's a little bit tricky because it's like partially selected. So when you select a bunch of these faces and then right click, you can also do orient faces, and it'll try to like figure it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this particular case, it's not really working that well. If we select hidden geometry and select everything, we don't even get that option. So what you may have to do, like in this instance, is actually come in and manually reverse the faces. So that's what we're going to do really quick. I'm just going to go through all of these and make it so that all of these faces are white, and we will come back after I am finished that and get to the next step. Alright, so I think we got most of the faces oriented correctly, and then we're just going to select our camera view. So we're just going to save this, hit plus on the scenes so that we save that. We see we have a new scene here, just so that we're saving our perspective in case anything happens. As always, you want to make sure that you save your file early and often. So we have this, and then let's just do that at a good measure. We'll call this retro bike. It's like a sci-fi retro. It'll take probably 25 minutes to say. I'm just kidding. So this is basically what we have. Now the trick here is really in the line work. So what I'm going to do is go to this little guy on the edge. It's called model settings. I'm going to turn off hidden geometry so we get sort of like a uniform look. Turn off the model axes, section cuts, section fills, guides. Just turn all that stuff off. And then update this style, and then come to here. The trick here is just making sure, basically like getting what you want, and that's edges, back edges, and profiles are pretty much what you want. You may want some of these other things, and feel free to mess around with those. Profiles just sort of like thicken some things up. Edges are all of your major edges, but if you want sort of that just like white look, that would be this guy. And then edges is this, and then profiles you can change. This is like basically the depth, so if you want like a thicker sort of heavy-handed line, you want to choose that. And then back edges, that's basically like the ghosting of stuff. It makes it a little cluttered, so I'm not really a particular fan of that. But you can see like the profiles give those nice like sort of contours that you don't get otherwise. So that gives you this, and then you can go to File, Export 2D Graphic, and if this is what you want, then you can just do that. We're going to sort of take this to the next level. So I'm going to export this as retrobike.png, but I'm going to use a renderer to render this, and then Photoshop it. So I'm going to use V-Ray for this. I'm just going to do render interactive. This isn't going to be like crazy, just I'm going to leave the sun the way it is. I think is what I'm going to do. I just hit this and hope that V-Ray starts. Okay. There we go. So in V-Ray, by default, it's going to render those materials because this is just showing the styles. So what you need to do in V-Ray is choose your settings and then go to Material Override and then just check that. And then re-render. So now we have that sort of like clay model looking thing. And you may want to put in a ground plane. So for this, since I already saved that, that's fine. Put in a ground plane right there just to get that sort of look. And I want to make sure that I'm saving, I'm not moving around the model because we're going to use that line work that we used. And if I move, then this isn't going to work. So this looks pretty cool. I'm just going to copy this to the clipboard, open Photoshop, go to open and choose my retro bike file. That's this guy. So I have that. I'm going to open a new tab and then hit Control V for paste. Actually, let's just open a new file. We'll do this the reverse way. Paste. So I'm just pasting that in. And it looks like it's a little bit off center. Let's just crop it a little bit. Just to give a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Now we're going to choose this retro bike file. We're going to hit Control A to copy all. I want to make sure I have that layer selected first. Control C to copy. Control V to paste. Now I'm going to change the blending option on that layer to multiply. And then I'm just going to eyeball it. Hit Control T to transform. Make sure that I'm holding Shift when I scale this so that it scales uniformly with the original. And then you just sort of want to eyeball this. So you can use the arrow keys to push or pull things up or down. And I'm using the edges around to kind of get what I'm looking for. You just want to line things up as best you can. This looks, it may need a little bit. It doesn't need to be like 100% accurate, just mostly accurate. That looks pretty good. So you have that sort of look. What I like to do with things like this is just turn the opacity down a little bit. So let's go like 50%. And I think you get all that line work in there still, but it has like this schematic look. And then you can save this and upload it to your file. So hopefully this helped. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. And as always, happy hacking.
All right, designers, just because this episode of Designer Hacks is over doesn't mean we're leaving you out in the cold. Tony's got tons of great content available at designerhacks.com. So join Design Nation right now, and we'll see you on the next episode of Designer Hacks.